Hello everyone, you are welcome to yet another video of BuildPro Global Enterprise YouTube channel. This is the third and the last part of the video series showing you how to draw a simple floor plan like this using AutoCAD under 7 simple steps. Okay, the steps were subdivided into 3 separate parts so the video doesn't become so long, and also for easy comprehension. In the first part of the video series, we were able to do those basic settings necessary to start drawing in AutoCAD. We thereafter drew the walls of our floor plan. In the second part of the series, we covered how to insert doors and windows into our drawing. After that, we inserted blocks into the floor plan. In this third and the last part of the video series, we are going to insert text, we will draw grids on our floor plan, and finally dimension the drawing. The link to the other part of this video series will be left in the description section of this video. Do endeavor to check it out and watch the other parts as well for full comprehension. Okay, what I'm going to do next is to write text, okay, and label all the rooms in this floor plan. To do that, I will go to layers and change my layers to text. After changing my layers, I can now head over to the annotation group, okay, and click on text to start writing my text. But before I start writing my text, I will need to set my text style, okay. To set my text style, I'll head over to the annotation group and click that little arrow beside annotation. I'll now go over to text style over here and click on it. There are a few text style under this text style box here, but I will need to create my own text style from scratch. To create a new text style, I'll head over to new over here and click on it. I will now give the new text style a name and click OK. Now ensure you click on the new text style you just created and make changes as you so wish. I'm going to make just a few settings. The first one is the font style under font over here, and secondly font height or size. I will set the font height to 250 millimeters. Then I click apply so that the changes can be effected. I'll now go back and select the new text style. Then I click on set current so that the new text style can be active. And now click close. Since I've finished setting my text style, I can now head over to the text command and start writing my text. I'll click on single line text. Single line text and multi-line text are similar, but they are not the same. We are not going to waste time explaining these two text styles here today. Okay, I'll create a more detailed video explaining all these text styles later on. But for today, we are going to click on single line text. You now move over to where you want to place the text and click, and then specify angle of rotation. If you want the text to be horizontal, you leave it at 0. You simply press enter on your keyboard to start writing your text. After writing, I click outside and then press escape to move out of the command. I can now move the text and center it in the room I'm labeling. Okay. I now go over to my text command again and select the single line text and come over to my dining to start typing. I first click at the point I want to start the typing and press enter, leaving my angle of rotation to 0 so that my text can be horizontal. Okay. I can now adjust the text and place it where I want it. Now, instead of going back to the text command and picking the command, then coming back to my floor plan and start labeling my room, what I'm going to do now is I will copy the ones I've already written down to the various room and then edit them in place. Okay. To do that, I will select one of the texts I already typed, then I pick the copy command to copy it to the various rooms. I can now double click on each of the text and start editing it to the correct level. I'll change this one to kitchen. This is my sit out. Not to waste your time, I'll pause this video and do the same thing for the remaining rooms. Okay, I've now finished editing all my text, okay, to the correct level. Now what I'm going to do next is to create grids for my floor plan. Now to create grid, I'll need to draw a square around my floor plan that is 3 meters away from the external parameter of the floor plan, okay? From there, I can now draw lines passing through the middle or center of each of these walls, reaching all through to this square that I created around my building. Okay, I'll launch my offset command by typing O on my keyboard and pressing enter to activate the offset command. I'll now type 3000 millimeters as my offset distance and press enter. After doing that, I'll now go around my building offsetting 3000 millimeters from the face of the external parameter of my building plan. Okay. I'm now going to launch the fillet command by typing F on my keyboard and pressing enter so that I can fillet these lines I just offsetted. I can now press the escape key to move out the command after I've finished offsetting everything. Okay. Now there's something I forgot to do. I'm currently on the text layer and I started drawing my grid. So what I need to do now is to highlight these lines I drew around my floor plan now and change it back to my grid layer. After highlighting it, I go to my layers group and now choose grid to activate the grid layer. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to offset 115 millimeters. 115 millimeters is half of my wall thickness. So I'm going to offset that so I can have a line passing through the middle or center of each of my walls that will serve as my grid. So to do that, I'll press O on my keyboard and type 115 and press enter to activate the offset command. I then go over to each of these walls and offset a line to the middle of the wall that will serve as my grid line. Now after offsetting all the grid lines to the center of all my walls, what I'm going to do next is to extend all these lines to touch this boundary lines of 3000 millimeters that I drew around my floor plan. To do that, I will now highlight the 3000 millimeter boundary lines and head over to my modify group and pick the extend tool so I can extend all these grid lines to touch my boundary line. Okay. So I'll start extending these lines up and down, left and right, so that it touches all the boundary. I'll do the same thing for my horizontal walls after finishing the vertical walls. Sorry, there's a vertical wall I forgot over here. So I'll still have to offset 115 millimeters to the center of the wall and still extend it to touch my boundary wall. Now after creating all the grid lines passing through the centers of my walls, what I'm going to do next is to highlight all the grid lines, that is the vertical grid lines and the horizontal grid lines as well. After highlighting, I'll now head over to my layers group and change the layers to that of grids. So all the grid lines have now been placed on the appropriate grid. I can now erase my boundary lines so I can be left with the grid lines. Now what I'm going to do next is to label my grid lines. To do that, I'll pick the cycle command and draw a circle at the edge of each of these grid lines. Then I label it. Before we do that, let's set our grids back to the grid layer. I can now copy my circle and place it at the appropriate place. And then pick the text tool so I can write the text. I'm going to type A and then move it into the circle. My text looks small, so I'm going to scale it up a bit and then adjust it to be at the center of the circle. Now I'm going to highlight this very grid label. I'll highlight and copy it to the other grid. From there I can now edit it to the label I want. I can press escape to move out of the command and go ahead to edit all the grid labels. I can now copy these grid labels at the top to the other part that is at the bottom, okay, so that they can have the same number or the same label rather. I will again copy this label to the horizontal grid so I can edit it in place. I'm now going to edit the horizontal grid label to numbers instead of alphabet as I did with the vertical grids. After doing that, I can now copy the grid labels to the other end. And press escape on my computer keyboard to move out of the command. So I've finished creating grids on my floor plan. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to dimension my floor plan. Okay, that's the last step of this video series. To do that, I have to head over to my layers group and change my layers to that of dimension. I then go over to the annotation group and click the little arrow beside annotation and then click on dimension style. Now this box here is showing all the dimension styles that have been set, okay, previously, but I'm going to set a new dimension style in this case. To do that, I'll head over to the right side of this box and click on new. Give the new dimension style a name. I can now click on continue. Now I'll be brought back to this dialog box from where I can edit or make changes to the way I want my dimension style to be. Okay, changes like the type of line, symbols and arrows, the text and the rest. I'm not going to waste much time over here. I already created a video that will teach you in detail how to set dimension styles in AutoCAD. Okay, so for now I'm going to quickly do all the necessary settings that I need to do so I can be able to dimension my building. And I'll come down to OK here and click on it. Click on the new dimension style I just created. Then I click on set current so that the new dimension style can be activated. My new dimension style is now activated, okay? So I can now go ahead and start dimensioning my building. To do that, I'll head over to the annotation group, okay, under the home tab and click on linear dimension. Now come over to my building and click on the first point. I want to start dimensioning. After that, then I click on the second point as well and move away to a reasonable distance to place the dimension. Now I'll need to continue dimensioning this building down to the very end, okay? So instead of going back and forth picking dimension and starting the dimension afresh, there's a command known as the continuous dimension. I'm going to click on the continuous dimension so I can be able to easily dimension this line to the very end. To do that, I'll head over to the annotate group on the menu tab over here and click on it. I then come over to the dimensions group and I'll click on continuous dimension over here. Now observe that if I click on this continuous dimension, my dimension will immediately snap to the last dimension I was doing, okay? So from there I can continue dimensioning my building. You can now press escape after reaching the end. Now let me make another dimension again. This time around, I want to dimension the grid lines of my building. So I'll head over to my home tab and click on linear dimension. Then I start dimensioning my grid by clicking on the first point, then the second point, then I now place the dimension. And now go back to the annotate tab and click on continuous dimension so I can be able to dimension right to the very end. And I press escape after I'm done. Let me place one more dimension, which is the overall dimension of this building. Okay. Now, that's how to dimension your building plan. Okay. So not to waste your time, I'm going to pause this video. In the same manner, I'll dimension the remaining 3 sites. Okay. And return after I'm done. Okay, so I'm through with dimensioning my building plan. There are so many things that I would have included, but for the sake of learning how to draw a building plan for the first time, we're going to stop here. You can click on the suggested videos that will be shown at the end of this particular video to watch the other parts of the video series. Remember, this is a video series that is showing you how to draw a simple floor plan, and this particular video is the 3rd part of the video series. Okay, so a link to the other first and second part of the video series, I'm going to leave it in the description section and also at the end of this video. Do endeavor to check it out. Please consider subscribing to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Like, share and comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Bye.